Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's your fan favorite, Professor Hamamoto, and the date is December 7th, 2025. Time 4 p.m. PDT. And today I'm a slave for you. You might recognize the subject of our discussion today, Ms. Britney Lynn Spears. We're going to go deep. So dispense or at least suspend all your preconceived notions about who Britney Spears is represented to be. And yes, she still is Britney Spears. I know that there's some characters out there who make a YouTube living on saying that, well, this celebrity's dead. They've been swapped out. Britney Spears has already been exchanged for Paul McCartney or Paul is dead. I mean, there's a whole sub-genre. So just suspend that. Isaac Cappy was suicided. We know that. He's not David Meyer de Rothschild. Okay. You get my point? On a similar line, I'm sorry. Hello? Hello? Sorry, I thought it was someone calling me to tell me that my audio was out, but I assume it's okay. So we're going to get into some of the cognitive aspects of the Britney Spears phenomenon, all of that off to the end, right? We'll start with some biographical information, and it's inspired by a book that I just completed by Britney Spears herself. It's called The Woman in Me. It was published a couple years ago, and apparently it was published before she got her divorce from her most recent husband. His name is Hassem Ashgari, and apparently they got divorced in 2024. So that's an update. And yes, we'll be talking about, thank you very much, Linda Palmer, for letting me know that I'm coming in nice and clear. So we'll be talking about some of her tempestuous relationships, not just between boyfriends, lovers, and husbands, but most of all, her parents, including her father and her mother. Man, they were or are pieces of work. And as most of you know, I'm going to try to keep the known information to a minimum here, but most of you know that after 13 years of being under a conservatorship, which we used to know as a guardianship, that Britney Spears, with the assistance of her attorney, whose name slips my mind, but he should be given full credit and recognition for being one of the good attorneys. After 13 years, she was able to liberate herself. Now, I'm hearing some whispers in the gossip line that, and we're going to talk about gossip as well, especially gossip that comes from the gay celebrity circuit. Let me put myself back up there so you can see me in my full glory. I just thought I'd try that experimental opening right there because if nothing else, Britney Lynn Spears is an experimentalist artist. She's a creative person through and through, which, and I'm not blaming her for this, which is one of the reasons why people were able to, including her own parents, especially her parents, that's why they were able to take advantage of her because she's so focused. And as I was speaking with a friend of this channel, and she herself is an artist, Lena Poo, you might remember her talk. She's been on here several times. She says artists, she broke it down for me, have a really difficult time in representing themselves to the world. Let's say if you're a painter or a singer or a musician, a creative person who's out there making, especially if you're making tons of money, or you could be the Beatles, right? I mean, these guys are all brilliant individually and collectively. That they have a tendency to be so focused that they're blindsided by people that are taking advantage of them, right? So there's a deep psychology. We're not going to get into it in this particular talk. There's so many directions I can take it in. I will warn you that, as I've mentioned time and time again, not just in this talk, but I've talked about Operation Jewel, like Jewel Kilcher, and I've talked about Jeffrey Epstein, on and on. I've talked about the Sullivanians, that cult up in the Upper West Side of Manhattan that were responsible for brainwashing, I'll use the common term, any number of artists, musicians, intellectuals, even critics in the New York City, Manhattan creative sphere, were all involved in mind control, right? So a common theme, and you know from my previous talks, my radical distrust in psychiatry, in its evil twin, psychology, therapeutics in particular. Now, this is not to denigrate any of those of you who are practicing psychotherapists or have been under psychotherapy. There are fewer and fewer people these days who have not been forcibly pushed in to the psychotherapeutic psychiatric prison house. Myself, I've, I'll tell you up front, I managed to, because I knew so much about it, managed to thwart the efforts of the University of California, Davis, thwart all their efforts to put me into a therapeutic prison. They said, okay, we're going to loosen up on you. We're going to give you back your job. We're going to restore your back pay, your salary that we stole from you. And at a certain point, it was up to 75% of my salary, right? And I'm telling you this because I'm not Britney Spears, but the same game is played on everybody, including you. So that's why understanding a celebrity's travails, tribulations is important to our own lives, because we got to find ways to evade the yoke ourselves. So I managed to give them the finger and say, no, thanks. I'm not going to join your therapy. I'll take your penalty. You can put me on quote unquote administrative leave. You can take my salary. And by the very end, it was down to 25%, and I can't afford that, you know. And by the way, Britney Spears couldn't afford it either, because they had conservators. Her father, James, or he's known Jamie. James had almost complete control over her money. Even if she wanted to get a pair of kicks, sneakers, shoes, they would decide, or he would decide, no, that's going to exceed your monthly budget, so you can't have it. I mean, when I say control, she was controlled down to what she can eat, how much she could eat, when she could eat. They even knew when she was going to the bathroom. I mean, in this book here, I found out that Britney Spears was on birth control. I mean, that's not too much of a surprise, but she didn't go too deeply into it. But she talked about having to ask her father, Jamie, her conservator, for permission to see the doctor so she can have her intrauterine device removed. Yes, Britney Spears was fitted out with an IUD. For all we know, there was a transmitter in it. It was setting Bluetooth signals to her monitors. I mean, I'm just bugging out here. That probably didn't happen, but you know what I mean? Even her reproductive cycles were controlled by the man. And it's not the New World Order. It's not Barack Obama. It's not Donald Trump. Whoever the villains that are being put up there, it's her own daddy. but it was a larger system that had been set up in order to make it possible for people, talented, creative artists, intellectuals, contributors, the people who push our civilization forward. And yes, I will say that Britney Lynn Spears pushed the civilization, the culture forward. I know you're expecting me to say, oh, she was just doing a lot of pop, pablum, just a lot of chewing gum for the ears, but I beg to differ. And would devote an entire show specifically to the music of Britney Lynn Spears if TubeU didn't demonetize me, right? Because you can't use anybody else. And I understand it, right? It's their intellectual creative property. And you have all these bozos who want to play people's music and they sit back and go, oh, yeah, that's the first time I'm hearing that. Oh, that is so cool. You know, these reaction videos. I understand that. I mean, I had a serious intention to do it. I can do it to some degree and get away with it, but most of the time I'll get zapped, so I can't do it. But just hear me out when I say that Britney Spears was using the state of the art technologies, engineering, sound technologies, and the top producers who we'll get into here into in a minute in order to get her music, her art, her craft together. Make no mistake about it, Britney Spears is loaded with talent from a very young age. Most of you know the story, so I'm not going to go into any detail. You know that she appeared on Star Search at age 10. That's when Ed McMahon was hosting the show. Remember Ed McMahon? You would think that after the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson ended, he'd say, oh, great, now I'm retired. But no, he became the host of Star. Anyway, that's another story. She was on there. She's 10 years old, and she's already singing like a grown black woman, Britney Spears, at age 10. All right. And then she, you know the story, she got a talent audition up in New York City. And remember, she's from a small town in Louisiana, a small town of barely over 2,000 souls near the Mississippi state line border. She's a country girl. She's a Southern girl. And you know what? I suspect she might be part black. Right? Because by the time Britney Spears came along, the whole deal of white people singing like a black people, you know the piece by Public Enemy, Who Stole the Soul? Right? Elvis don't mean shit to me, blah, 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 right? So the soul was already stolen, commodified, and packaged and served up and had crossed over long before Britney Spears came on the scene. But that being said, I will say that she was part of the culture, the deep Southern, white, black, Indian culture. Her whole town, I don't know what was called, Natchitoches. It was an Indian name, a Muskogee Indian name was the name of her town. Right. So her story is a story of America, good and bad. The good part is that she was country. The bad part, well, you know the bad part. One of her early gigs was the Mickey Mouse Club. You might know it as MMC. And you know what? The kids that were watching MMC back then, I was just thinking in my mind, they're like in their late 20s and 30s. They're like in the early stages of their careers, their professions. They themselves have become parents. And they was always already being socialized by the Mickey Mouse Club and Britney Spears. By the way, I was rereading this excellent book. It's still available, by the way, used only. It should be republished by David Mark. It was published in 1993. See, part of my show, ladies and gentlemen, instead of being one of these brain jackass bro shows, I'm trying to advance the knowledge base here. So if you want to study this further, if you want to write a research paper at your college, your university on cognitive psychology and used Britney Spears as a case study of how frequency manipulation and modern day streaming music technologies that come out of Sweden, of all places, have altered the neurosystem, then you have a place to start. So this book here came out in 1993. It's called Walt Disney and the Dark Prince, and I read it when it came out. I had to reorder it because I didn't know where my original copy is. And I was looking to find all kinds of real nasty stuff about it, because everything you read about Walt Disney now is about how he was such a weirdo. He liked children. He liked riding around in his little mini train system in his own house. Some of that was true, but he was not as weird as it's been made out to be. I think that whole story of Uncle Walt being a pervert was put in there when Walt Disney Enterprises was being wrested away from the Disney family and put in the hands of Wall Street. So what they typically do is go after these characters, successful single proprietor business or family-owned businesses, and they create all kinds of garbage about them before they steal their shit. You got it? And that's exactly what they were doing to Britney Spears. And we, as the readers of People magazine and the National Enquirer and Mademoiselle and Cosmo, all of it, the New York Daily News, the Daily Mirror, we bought it. We ate it up. And by the way, because I gave a talk on this a few years ago about how the National Enquirer was an intelligence operation. It had a close relationship with the Central Intelligence Agency, because part of their charge is information shaping warfare, stigmatization, right? Create certain storylines or narratives, as it's now being called. That used to be a literary term, by the way. Now it's mainstream, right? Just like weaponization started out as an academic. I'm the person, by the way, who put it out in the popular culture. Weaponization of multiculturalism. That's me. And I got it from a guy named David Price, who wrote a book called The Weaponization of Anthropology. All right. So that's my claim here, to be talking about Britney Spears as someone who comes from the academic world. Yes, that's where I come from. Don't be fooled by the costume, ladies and gentlemen. I'm only wearing my Dodger gear today as a tribute to Britney Lynn Spears, who lives in the Los Angeles area. My advice to her is to get out of there as quickly as possible. She does like Maui, though, so maybe she should be spending more time in the islands with all the yellow people there. It's really odd. She has no yellow people in her retinue. She's got Middle Easterners, she's got Jews, she's got Protestant dudes, she's got, I don't know if she's got Indians, but no yellow people. But she likes to go out into Maui. Maybe it's not such a good idea. That's where all the that's where Oprah lives, or she has a home there. Anyway, we'll get into that a little bit more. But I'm saying that the David Mark book is a landmark insofar as Disney is concerned, and you have to revisit it to get beneath all the garbage that's now being written about Walt Disney, and it's all these pop-up pundits that are responsible for it. These tube viewers. You've been hearing me complain about them incessantly, month after month, year after year. And I'm finding that before Wall Street, the PR people, the mind managers, the manipulators of our monetary system, of our political, economic way of life on Wall Street, they used to pay people on magazines and movies and television and radio to do their bidding, right? And most of the people who think they know what propaganda is and mind control and Edward Bernays think that that's still the way they're doing it. But guess what? Let me share you with a discovery, an insight that I had. Wall Street has cut all those people out. Most of the people you see who are retooled comedians are clueless. They're just part of the echo chamber that have flooded the zone. The real ones you got to watch out for are the bros who come straight from the advertising industry, that come straight from Wall Street. Case study. I'll get back to Britney Spears in a moment. There's so much to comprehend here because her life has been shaped by these characters out there. But I was reading this one bro. He's super intelligent. These guys are all very, very quick. They're quick studies. They're clever. They're sharp. They're quick. They're fast. And that's why they have the retooled comedians like a Joe Rogan to run their own shows there. Those are not indie media people. I hope you know by now, because they're really good at filling dead air. But there's another wing of it, and they're an offshoot of the whole bro show culture. I'll give you specific names. His name's Julian Dory. I looked him up. I said, wow, this guy's a good interviewer. He seems to know his material. You can tell that he sat through hours and hours of training by watching old Alex Jones shows, because most of it's rehashed, right? So I looked at his background, and you know what? He was from Wall Street. He was with Merrill Lynch or one of them big finance houses. And his one-liner for leaving that world and becoming a pop-up pundit, head of his own bro show, is that, well, I didn't like wearing suits. Ha, 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 ha. Yeah, but it's the same mind fuck. But now they're coming straight in from the propaganda sponsors instead of going through talent. They're going straight to the brains. Okay, I'm just tipping you off here. There's another guy, Danny Jones is another one. All right, and they all kind of were influenced by the example set by Joe Rogan. He's kind of like the granddaddy of it. Anyway, let me move back to Britney Spears. But I'm saying that I'm setting this up because, ironically, these are the same characters that build people like Britney Spears up, and they track her career, and then they, like a bunch of vultures, feed off her demise, her carcass, right? And I'll tell y'all right up front, I have the utmost respect for her as an artist, as a creative individual, and most of all, as a human being. And I give this autobiography 5 stars. And I will say that it is, I believe, suitable for even young people, let's say 12, 13 years old. There's nothing really, really, really skanky in here, right? And if you're 13 years old, you should probably have some awareness of the facts of life, but there's nothing really, really nasty here. And I would suggest that teenagers read this book, and it is accessible to them, because the sooner they start deprogramming themselves out of the celebrity culture, the better they'll be, and the better we will all be. And then they can be content to just express themselves creatively in a pro-social way without people feeding off of them and becoming miserable and suicidal. She had those types of ideations, by the way. I won't say the word. Britney Spears did. She talks about it. And as I've already alluded to, she was on psychiatric drugs, starting with Adderall. Then she was on Prozac. All right. So when I have expressed my aversion to this type of psychiatric control, it comes from direct experience from people trying to impose it on me. I had this one guy, Dr. Stanley Sue. He's the father of so-called Asian American mental health. That's why I don't use the term anymore, Asian American. I say yellow, but he snatched that term, Asian American, claimed it for himself and his friend Nolan Zane, who had me in a pincer move in my own department, and they were trying to take it away and pathologize all my healthy students who were vivacious and creative and energetic and curious, just like Britney Spears. They might not have the same talent, but they had the same energies. And they were trying to slap labels on them, pathologize them, say, oh, you're ADHD, oh, you're borderline personality, oh, and then they put you into the mental health system, and pretty soon you're a basket case and you're under conservatorship. And I said, hell no, you are not going to be able to do that, Dr. Stanley Sue, on my watch. So I drove both of those assholes out of my department all by my lonesome because I used guerrilla ninja warfare on them. Anyway, that's another story. You've heard bits and pieces before. So this is her story really hit home to me, believe it or not. I'm a geezer, man. I'm a yellow man. You would think I had nothing in common at all with Britney Spears. But au contraire, we are kindred. By the way, I've listened to her music. I've studied her music. I listened to the artists that were in her circle, Neo. I looked at the careers and the methods, recording methods, engineering of her producers like Max Martin, which we'll talk about. He's part of the Swedish global mind control system, by the way. It's Sweden. Here's another insight for you. Baby, I'm brimming with insights today. Britney Spears just sort of let loose all these connections that were swimming around in my mind. That is a function of good art. It kind of helps you bring it all together. But Swedish mind control is very, very powerful. And you would not think so because you're being told that the source of evil in the contemporary world is China and the Chi-Coms. The yellow man again has been resurrected as the great evil. And by the way, there was lots of yellow people in Louisiana where Britney Spears people come from. And they was growing rice out there on the bayou. But that's not in the book. Maybe the next edition will be. So let me continue. I didn't mean to start off in such a aggressive fashion. We see here as early as 1999. I don't know how old she was. You do the arithmetic. But she already had an awareness of who she was and who she represents as a person, as an artist, and how she is perceived in her larger world. She was not some nutcase. That only came later when all the different PR organs and all the different pop-up pundits toward the end started piling up on her to make her seem like a crazy people, so all these lawyers can come and steal her shit on behalf of all the people who are preying on her. By the way, she's still worth about $60 million today in 2025. She would have been a lot richer had she never met any of these people, including her own parents, who took tons of money from, I can't even calculate it. Here she is in 1999, Britney Lynn Spears.
Now, have you gotten to the point where you see yourself as a role model to all these other young girls out there that are looking up to you and looking up to what you say and do?
Well, I mean, if they want to put me up on a pedestal like that, that's really sweet. And it's just that I'm human and I make mistakes just like everybody else. And I can just try and be a good person for me and for them as well. But it's flattering, though, that if they view me as being that way.
Do you get ever like hypersensitive about what you're saying or doing on camera, or so that worried about what people are going to say?
No, not really. I mean, I can just be myself, and if they have a problem with that, then what can I do?
You can't do anything about it. That's right. And this is such a strange lifestyle, I'm sure, especially for someone your age. And do you ever feel like you're missing out on certain
a lot of people ask me that, but the thing is I've been in this business on and off, and I did have a wonderful childhood. The first thing I did, I went to New York for 6 months, but then after that, I went back home again, and then I did the Mickey Mouse Club. But
Right.
I was on the Mickey Mouse Club for 2 years, but it was like 6 months out of each year. And then after that, I went back to high school, and I had a normal high school, like ninth and 10th grade, and I was completely normal. Went to prom, homecoming, experience dating, and doing normal high school things. So I really experienced.
You did.
Yeah,
You
I
have
totally
the
did.
same-
But
the
if
same
I
life.
didn't experience that, I probably would always have that in the back of my mind. I wonder what that would be like. So I'm really thankful in that I did get a chance
Yeah, you
to.
got a chance to just
Yeah, I
be a
know what
normal
it's like,
person.
and I would much rather be doing this.
Yeah, of course. Which leads me to another question, actually. 'Cause
Yes, I stand corrected. Her middle name is Jean. I just wanted to see if you're listening. I got her confused with her younger sister, who's one of her names is Lynn, who, by the way, by age 16 was pregnated. She was impregnated at age 16, right? It was real country people because that's how they do it down south, right? And you can still hear that in her voice. You got the Louisiana twang in there, in addition to a little bit of vocal fry. Now you can hear the vocal fry in my voice because I'm a geezer, but that's probably the Perry Hilton vocal affect that you're hearing there. By the way, she was tight with Perry Hilton. They partied a little bit in Las Vegas. They got crazy drunk a few times, but you know what? They're like 20 years old, 19, 21, whatever it is. And I think a lot of people that age are doing that kind of activity, and most of them stay out of trouble, but most of them aren't making millions and millions of dollars that goes into the pocket of the parents. Well, you get the story there. So then, as you know, or as I've already alluded to, Britney Jean Spears was put under the conservatorship, and I won't go into the details, the legalities of it. And she was lied to left and right. She had, and this is a warning for all of us. She was betrayed by her own lawyer because the lawyer is not working for you. The lawyer is working for the bar and other lawyers, right? It's a giant club, and as George Carlin said, you're not in it. So anyway, that's the short version of why she. Because someone said, "Well, man, she was in it for 13 years, and she was an adult, and how come she couldn't pull herself out?" Well, if you're a little kid and you're being put into a system and know nothing else, I would think that it's pretty difficult to extricate yourself from it. But extricate herself, she did. And there were some good people along the way who did help her. And guess what? And this changes my perceptions. I'm learning all the time myself. This changes my perceptions about the Britney Spears fans out there, because the automatic reaction is to see them as a bunch of screaming memes, a bunch of mindless teeny boppers or tweeners, wannabes who go crazy over their little Britney. But as it turns out, it was those kids who were growing up with her and now were netizens, if you want to call them that, who started the campaign to free Britney Spears. And they were showing us spontaneously wearing signs and T-shirts and putting the B on their clothes as B for Britney, and they're organizing themselves in order to publicize her plight, because she disappeared off the scene. I didn't know what happened to her, and she says in this books her father and the group around her had her involuntary. Well, it was not involuntary because she was under conservatorship. They had her committed to a Beverly Hills rehab facility, and the fee was something around $60,000, and she was in there for several months. And she talks about this horrific snake pit that she was thrust into by the people supposedly who most cared about her. By the way, if your own family treats you in that fashion, Why do people keep saying, well, we ought to turn to the government to help us? Call call Donald Trump. He'll get it taken care of. I'm like, come on, get real. Let's learn something from Britney Spears. Okay, so here's a story as reported by I think it's Meredith Vieira, somebody about Britney Spears's struggle with the conservatorship.
Being no end to the drama when it comes to the life of Britney Spears. Lou Taylor is the business manager for Britney Spears' father, mother, and younger sister, Jamie Lynn.
You know, and this is a family where you've got Jamie and Lynn constantly rallying together as a family, that they are well aware of the situation with their daughter, and they love her more than anything.
Play with me.
How much is Britney Spears worth?
It's time to play. Come play my way.
Well, you get the idea, and there's tons, as you know, of material like that. You can get the details, and if you want the dollar amounts of how much this woman who was heading, I think her organization was called TriStar Entertainment. Can't remember. If I'm wrong, you can correct me in the comments if it makes you feel better. Like you're the Britney Spears expert, and I'm not. Good. Be the expert. TriStar. This woman, Lou or Louise. Forgot her name. I have it on my notes here. Conspired along with these other people to dip into that huge money machine called Britney Spears. All right. Now, this situation here is very much related to the larger exploitation of children and young people, young adults, or even people who are past their majority, whether it's 18 or 21 in your particular state, and are under conservatorship, right? I think you can justifiably catalog the Britney Jean Spears case along with, for example, the Pizzagate situation, where you have a select group of elite connected individuals whose recreation is the exploitation of young people, right? So it's much larger than Britney Spears, and she is one example of a systemic exploitative system. I'm trying to avoid certain trigger words that'll get me removed from TubeU while the pop-up pundits from Merrill Lynch go on their ways and enjoy their millions of paid for subscribers. So I'm not going to use certain terms. So here is an excerpt from a movie which you can find for free on TubeU. I encourage you to watch the whole documentary. It's called Out of Shadow. Here we go.
I learned so much from working with him.
I'm sorry. I jumped the gun. That's Adam Levine from Maroon 5, an excellent singer. Here we go. Oh, shoot. Well, yeah, it's disappeared. It's disappeared from here, but it was about the phenomenon or the events surrounding so-called Pizzagate. And I gave you the reference already. It's called Out of Shadow, and it's about at least the second part of the documentary is about the reportage of one of the OGs who's been plundered and plagiarized relentlessly by all these characters who are being sent in by Wall Street to head their own bro shows. Her name's Liz Crokin, Crokin, Crokin. Check her work out, lest her work be forgotten, her contributions be forgotten. All right. So we'll skip that one. I'm running behind time anyway. Let's look at some of the artists that worked with people like the producer Max Martin. Remember I told you about Sweden as being the center of mind control? And I saw in the comments they said I'm confusing Sweden with Switzerland. No, I'm not confusing anything. You don't know your work, your history. All right? I mean, it's a live stream, so you can make your comments as inane as they are, but I'm just worried that other people are gonna think that I'm wrong, and you're the one who has your head up your ass, not me. All right. Sweden, and the guy's name is Max Martin. That's not even his real name, by the way. He anglicized his, and I'll explain why the anglicization angle is so important. They're trying to appeal to the Anglo-American power axis. That's Britain and the United States. So you have Swedes who take American sounding names like Max Martin, like a Nick Bostrom, to disguise the fact that they're part of the Swedish mind mafia based in Gothenburg or Stockholm, if you will. And I'll elaborate on that in a moment. But here we go with Britney Spears talking about what it's like working with Max Martin, his pseudonym.
As y'all have probably been able to tell recently, I've been very busy lately with everything going on in my life and way too busy to meal plan and cook.
Well, there are a number of other artists. It just goes right through the whole honor roll of late 90s, early 20s artists, all the people you know that were produced by this guy who goes by the name of Max Martin. Usually he had a partner by the name of Dr. Luke. And together they were producing close to 75% of all the hits that were coming out around that time. Subsequently, they were replaced by the Neptunes, which is the name that a duo took for themselves, Chad Hugo and Pharrell. What's his last name? Pharrell Jones? I don't know. I can't remember it. I'm drawing a blank. We'll hear about it in a moment here. He's the guy that produced the let's see, Get Happy, is it called? The hit. He's still making hits. So Max Martin is not such a big player anymore, but he was, and he was controlling all these people at that time. Now, Max Martin is also from the center of the modern music industry, which has impoverished all working artists, all working musicians, except for those in the very top. And it was done through the means of a technology that is the dominant way that most people around the world these days receive music. We used to get it on the radio, on the vinyl, on the CD, on the cable television. And no, I'm not just being some geezer saying, yeah, let's bring back the old tech. No, it runs deeper than that. All that has been thrown out for the Swedish technology called Spotify. Yeah, Spotify's Swedish. Now you understand where I'm going with this? The production, the making of this, which includes the latest, the most sophisticated neurocognitive research in binaural mind manipulation. By the way, I have tons of articles. I'm not even going to be able to touch upon it today that I read in preparation for this talk. I'll put them on my Patreon. So if you're in school, you could use this as sort of a starter yeast for a research paper. Your professors will love it. They'll go, my, this is much better than the usual crap that I'm getting. Just a bunch of repetitious material, just sort of old hat repetition over and over and over. I mean, yeah, we need newness. And that's what these producers were introducing quite successfully. So Spotify, So that brought me to the realization that why are they doing this? Why are they impoverishing the music? Why are they eliminating everybody except for your Katy Perry, for your Britney Jean Spears, for your Billie Eilish, or whoever else, these industry plants at whatever level they're operating at? Well, it's part, and I'm not just throwing words out here. I think it's part of the post-human agenda because at the other end of the continuum of the Swedish mind control complex is a professor at, I think his main institution is Oxford University. Let me see what his Swedish name was. Yes, he was born Niklas Byström or Boström in 1973. Nicholas Boström. I'm not giving the right pronunciation because I don't know any Swedish. But he is known to us by the name of Nick Bostrom. It sounds more Anglo-Saxon, doesn't it? That's why I said that they changed their name to Max Martin or Nick Bostrom instead of Nicholas, spelled with Niklas, because they're Anglo-Saxonizing it. So it won't sound foreign. And Professor Nick Bostrom is one of the key proponents of, he calls it transhumanism, but it's really post-humanism. And this whole book is called The Anthropic Bias. Anthropos is you and me, it's humanity. He's saying that the social sciences, the humanities, the hard sciences, computer science, philosophy is anthropocentric, is anthropocentrism. It's man-centered. So he wants to decenter it. Do you think it's just simply a philosophical intervention? No. It's to make way for the machine. It's to make way for what will follow Spotify, which will be the direct, perhaps, neural implants, and they might have not had to invade your skull. They can just beam it in there. You've heard of voice and skull technology. Most of you, that's about all you know about, because you watch Joe Rogan. He's spitting information that's 40, 50 years old, and it's new to you, so you think it's profound. But I'm telling you to look further in some of the least likely places on earth that are putting this type of technology out into the mainstream culture. And one final word on the Swedish mind control complex. There's an author who died of a heart attack suddenly at I think he was only in his 50s. His name is Stieg Larsson. He was anti-communist, he was a communist. I'm sorry to say. He comes from a family of Swedish communists in reaction to Nazism. Basically, that's why they became communist. And he wrote a whole series of books about the persistence of the Nazi underground, or not underground. They're part of the Nazi corporate system today in the 21st century. And it was translated to English as the girl that kicked over the hornet's nest. And it was made into a Swedish version, which is the best one, or the better one, and it was remade into an English version. That's Stieg Larsson. And the heroine of the first book and movie, her name is Lisbeth Sander. She's a computer hacker. She's autistic. But guess what? She was under conservatorship by some crooked lawyer in Stockholm. And he abused her. He put her into some sort of sexual slavery situation. And she turned the table on him, and she went in there and tied him up, chained him up, and brand something on his ass something to the effect of I am a sex, I won't use the term, an S-ayer. That's in the book. It's in the movie. Right? That's very, very similar to what we're talking about here with Britney Spears. That comes right out of Sweden. This was the martyred author, Stieg Larsson, who was sending these messages out to us in the guise of popular fiction. And fortunately, he had a lot of popularity in the English language world, but people were missing the larger message that Larson was putting out. He was a serious journalist, by the way. He was writing these detective novels during his off hours. He was relaxing because he was a fan, like a lot of people, of reading detective novels. So he tried one himself and wrote a slew of them. I read every single one of them. They're quite good. So anyway, that's all for the Swedish connection at this point. All right, we looked at Max Martin, and you can find there's tons of material on him. You can study him. You can do a whole research trail on Max Martin and the Swedish mind control industry. I'm just giving you hints here, ladies and gentlemen, so you don't go around repeating what you heard on the Crowder show or Greg Gutfeld or some of these other funny guys. I don't have to, let's read those comments all the time in my own work. Oh yeah, so and so, some ass clown comedian, or Ian Carroll said this with some nepotistic guy whose parents are from Wall. That stuff's garbage, right? But I have to read this stuff. I go, oh my gosh, I have my work cut out for myself. That's why I'm taking the time to deconstruct this whole apparatus that we're currently being mind fucked by. All right, so here's another character. I'm not going to say anything about him except his name is Chad Hugo. And I'll look at this little interaction with you and we'll discuss what our perceptions are about this guy. Okay. He's with the Neptunes, by the way. Pharrell Williams, I think his name is. That's his partner. He's the black guy. They're from Virginia Beach, by the way. Right, it's a huge military installation. In fact, Chad Hugo's daddy was in the Navy. He's one of the thousands and thousands of Filipinos that were brought in through the U.S. military, the Navy in particular, who were sexually traumatized as cabin boys to fuck all the white officers up there on the bridge, because they were the ones who were serving the food and cleaning the cabins. The Filipino cabin boy. Right. One such person was the father of Andrew Cunanan, the guy who went on a cross-country killing spree from San Diego. He wound up in Florida, Palm Beach or someplace, because his last target was Gianni Versace. That's Cunanan. His father was from that Filipino U.S. Army mind-controlled homo network. And Virginia, and that's San Diego. That's the home of the 7th Fleet. That's the fleet. That's the location where the U.S. military from the ocean controls all the yellow people on the other side of the Pacific. And the other side, in the Atlantic, you got Virginia Beach with the U.S. Army. And that's where Chad Hugo's Filipino immigrant parents settled. And Pharrell Williams, his parent, I think his father was also Navy. And you know who else is from associated with Virginia Beach? Our own V.C. Andrews. Flowers in the Attic. She lived in Virginia Beach, and she was very much aware of all the weird, familial, incestuous activity that was going on right in front of her eyes. All right, so that's why I keep mentioning these places. It's not just, it's America, just Florida. It's just Louisiana. By the way, Louisiana, even up in the early 1950s, there were still lynchings of black people down there. You understand? In addition to the forced removal, eradication of the native population. And as I've already alluded to, the Chinamen who grew all the rice down there, they've been totally written out of the history. So I can't help but think that type of energy finds its way into this music that Max Martin up in the mind control factory up there in Stockholm. You've heard of the concept of the Stockholm Syndrome, have you not? That's a place name that's not arbitrary. This is where they workshopped it. You got, people who are held hostage who fall in love with the captives. You see where I'm going with this? So here's another guy. It's Chad Hugo. Now you, without me commenting on it, make your own assessment of what this character's about.
Oh, I'm sorry. Chad Hugo of the Neptunes is a legend, and he's with us today. I'm sorry.
Man, appreciate it, man.
So get nice and close to that microphone, Chad. So first of all, what do we owe this honor? You are not a man who gets behind microphones.
Man, that's too much, man. That's too much of an intro, but I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for supporting the Neptune. What we made. Pharrell and I, as record producers, as the Neptunes, and what we contributed to radio and making songs that have hit the airwaves and were broadcasted worldwide and all that. And I appreciate people moving and dancing, and it's just been a blessing, and I'm honored to be a part of it.
So why now? Why do interviews now? Because you're not generally a guy who comes out and speaks a lot. So why now are you deciding to?
Yeah, I don't like talking. I don't like vocalizing. I have a small voice, and I don't really like talking about stuff. I just try to be an instrumentalist all my life. You know what I mean?
So why now?
I think that was my assignment was to get up here and talk on the radio.
You're gonna have to go. Okay, a lot of big things are happening. Let's go.
Laura included in those big things.
No, honestly, we were so happy. First of all, my husband is a huge fan. He never leaves home. He's like, I'm coming to the studio because Chad is gonna be there. The Neptunes have such an incredible, die-hard fan base. But NERD, your whole entire movement, and I know you know that. It's like a different kind of love that you guys get from your fans, like dedication. And just how does that all feel like throughout the years? People who have studied every single record, every single remix, everything that you guys have done throughout the years and continue to support you to this day.
Wow. Jeez, I don't know. It's just,
That's why they have comedians who run these shows so they can fill the dead air of their guests who are not necessarily the sharpest knife in the toolkit. What's your comment? Someone says Pharrell took his money too. Yeah, they had a falling out because, as it turns out, Pharrell Williams registered the name Neptunes and he left Chad Hugo, the Asian dude, out of it. So they're having a little bit of a legal tussle. Maybe that's why he had to go onto that show and reveal himself, which I suspected. And there's no shame in this, by the way. I suspected that he was autistic, and I think he's on the spectrum. I think he's one of those guys who are on the computer and can really go in granularly and fine tune through Pro Tools, computer software, and all the peripherals and the plugins to really fine tune and craft and engineer songs by Britney Spears and Katy Perry and Pink and whoever else. You've got to be ADHD or autistic in order to get to that level of perfection, and he has it. That's his superpower. But he's not going to be able to hold forth like Pharrell Williams on the microphone, and those guys didn't do their research. They said, "Why now? Why are you coming on now, Chad Hugo?" And he's going, I mean, he's stumped. He can't really express himself. There's no shame in that. That's okay. So anyway, I'm telling you that this is how these tunes, they're engineered. This is the type of process that's involved all the way through when creating this incredible art. I'll call it that. And a lot of the music from the late 90s, I think they took over the mantle of Max Martin, was crafted by these characters. the Neptunes or Neptunes. And Pharrell Williams was able to parlay that into becoming named the creative director of Louis Vuitton. Because supposedly because of his fashion style, his superior clothing sense. He's a designer. He's got no skill, no talent whatsoever in that area because it's just a perception. And of course, as you know by now, some of these people who've made a business out of exposing fraud and scams have shown that all these luxury brands are in fact made in China by a bunch of Chinese, right? All these luxury brands, and they slap their logo on it, but they're made in China. And I bought some of those stuff when I was I think I was in Shanghai. I loaded up on a bunch of Louis Vuitton because it was big at the time. I brought it home, and I gave it to a friend, and I told him this is counterfeit, but I hope you enjoy my little gift to show you a little bit of my travels here. Anyway, Chad Hugo, look at the music from these behind the scenes perspective. Okay, the next phase I want to move into is the whole connection with the gay community, Britney Spears phenomenon. And sure enough, as I was finishing up the book, at the very beginning, she has I don't know, maybe a few paragraphs, couple pages devoted to her gay fan base. Because remember, it was her devoted Britney Spears fans who helped put public pressure out there to get her conservatorship taken off. By the way, in her hearing, I believe she had a female judge who was very sympathetic towards Britney Spears. She praised Britney Spears for her bravery in coming forth. Let's see here. The judge said, quoting, "I just want to tell you that I certainly am sensitive to everything that you said and how you're feeling. I know it took a lot of courage for you to say everything you have to say today, and I want you to know that the court does appreciate your coming on the line and sharing how you're feeling," because she laid it all out. After 13 years of formal conservatorship, she mustered up the courage to go in front of the court to present her case. And she talks about, I'd like to have a recording of her, Britney Spears, telling the court her plight. It's very powerful. And she writes it verbatim. It's on the page, but I'd like to hear her voice saying that. If it's out there, put a link down in the comments below so that I can have a copy of it. I'm just asking you as a favor. It's not a requirement. All right. So in addition to her teeny bopper, and I don't mean that sound disparaging, her teenage, preteen fan base, they were a great source of support for her. She also had a really strong gay following, as you might imagine. Right? The Woman in Me. And she writes about that quite passionately, about how much they meant to her and how much that their community felt her, allowed her to feel her own power as a woman, as an individual, as a human being. And it's my contention that the gay community helped Britney Spears overcome her legal, that is through the conservatorship, her legal slavery forms, quote unquote slavery. And by the way, speaking of slavery, the first clip I showed you without the audio was "I'm a Slave for You," that was released, I think, in 2001, something like that. "I'm a Slave for You." And from what I read, it wasn't here, it was from some other article, that I'm a Slave for You was rejected from Janet Jackson, or by Janet Jackson. Remember Janet Jackson? Because she's a black woman and she didn't like, I'm a slave for you. I mean, that's not a good song for a black woman, but I guess it's okay for Britney Spears because the people who are controlling her anyway view her as chattel slavery, right? Maybe sort of a sex slave. By the way, with Britney Spears, I forgot to mention this point. With Britney Spears, like a lot of other women who are her age, who are child stars, there's something, I was oblivious to it. But there was something called a sexual countdown, or call it a virginity countdown. And that is, there were certain websites and even personalities who would, when Britney Spears showed up on the scene, were counting down to the date when she would go from virgin to non-virgin. That's called a virginity countdown. And I go, oh yeah, they just tried something like that with the Olsen twins. You had these characters like the now released Howard Stern, who would go on his show. I think they might have even been guests on the Howard Stern show to humiliate themselves and being asked about their virginity and asked, well, when are you going to lose it? So that was them. The Olsen twins. Natalie Portman once talked about how, because she was starting out as a child actress. I remember her first film. It was kind of really creepy with Jean Reno. She was a little child who was abandoned, and he was a hitman of some sort. So she started young, and she talked about how she felt objectified, abused, and exploited by these characters who were doing these virginity countdowns. So you can probably come up with some other names that of girls that were subjected to such social humiliation. All right. Let's move on to what I call because we're talking about the gay and lesbian audience, right? Before I went on my digression, and how they were one of the pillars of her community, if you want to describe it as such. But at the same time, you had people who were trying to undermine that, who were also of the lesbo misanthropic community, I call them, right? And two people in particular who were gay identified, lesbian identified, who did not really like the fact that a wholesome heterosexual female like Britney from the South and a Christian were being made into a object of adoration by a lot of wholesome girls, teenage girls mostly. One of the names was Rosie O'Donnell. Remember her, Rosie O'Donnell? And the other one was the disgraced Ellen DeGeneres. And not coincidentally, both of those women left the country when Donald Trump was elected for the second time. Well, actually the third time, but his second term in office. They made good their word and they left the United States of America. Good riddance. I'll say it for you. Rosie O'Donnell, I don't know where she went. I think she went to an English-speaking country, and she took her daughter with her autistic female daughter, adopted, who's really pissed off that she's angry. She's pounding the table saying, I hate Donald Trump. He made us move out of the country. She should blame her mother, not Donald Trump. That's Rosie O'Donnell, the militant lesbo misanthrope. And of course, she, was a presence in the talk show world. And the other one, the lesbo misanthrope, is and was Ellen DeGeneres. And as you know, last year she left the United States of America. She left Montecito, California, Santa Barbara, where the globalist and the celebrity elite live. And that's where the British royalty live. The Duke and the Duchess of Sussex live in Montecito. And by the way, I'll be giving a talk on the Duke and Duchess of Sussex sometime before Christmas. There, I said it. Christmas, Christmas, Christmas. Sometime before Christmas, I'll return to the show hosted by Lauren, and she's British, so I have some information that I'd like to share with her and gather from her, especially where it concerns Sussex, England. Right. So you have Ellen, who left the country and moved to Britain, to England specifically, with her quote unquote wife, Portia de Rossi. They left Montecito. And guess what? They're making noises like they want to come back to the US. Well, I think they should be made to stand in line behind all the other people who are applying for entry. That's Ellen. Because guess what? Portia de Rossi says she wants to restart her acting career too. Oh, good luck with that. So let's take a look at Rosie O'Donnell. And so what they're doing is clowning Britney Spears because they hate her because she's heterosexual and she's dropping babies too. She has 2 chillins, Britney Spears, with, I think it was with K-Fed, right? Kevin Federline. I got to read his book, by the way. I have to read Justin Timberlake's book. I'm just only getting started. I'm catching up on my whole Britney Spears world, so be patient with me here. So let's take a look at Rosie O'Donnell trying to clown Britney Spears. She's a good sport. She's going along with it. I don't know why she's putting up with this stuff.
Today, she's here with me, and she's going to have to do what I say. So bottom line. So, we're about to go pick her up.
Don't attack her. She's only waving. Britney, you're my friend. All right, you guys, sing the song for her. Baby, baby, how was I supposed to know? Keep going. Listen to them.
Something wasn't right here. Baby, baby, I shouldn't have let you go.
They're good. They're good, aren't they?
Now you're right outside, yeah. Show me how you want it to be. Tell me, baby, 'cause I need to know now. Because
That's very good. You're very good, but we have to go. Who's coming to the concert? Are you coming to the concert? All right, we'll see you there. Bye-bye.
Well, I have to stop it there because this will be demonetized if I show any Britney Spears music. So let's move on to Ellen DeGeneres. Now here she is really clowning. This is an interesting skit. She's clowning Britney Spears, but she's also making a strange sort of ironic commentary on the whole idea of celebrity. And she's doing it at the shopping mall, and she's doing it with families, mostly with mothers with their children, amongst what they contemptuously refer to as the breeders. There's still family in all this. They hate it. That's part of the whole post-human lesbo misanthropy that's taught at the university, the hatred of humankind, of humanity. That's what a certain arm of the GLBT, academic GLBT, I should say, academic feminism is being pushed. I'm not talking about the gay community in general, right? They're cool. They're okay. You know, they're not forcing on anybody. It's the militant academic feminists and gays that are pushing the the post-human agenda. And they're all up in the Ellen Show. The Ellen Show is one of their tools of propagating this type of anti-heterosexual, anti-Christian propaganda. That's her. That's Ellen. How do I know this? I get the reports. I get the academic research. I get the evaluations by this organization called GLAD. I'll put it on my Patreon because I can't show it. It's just too involved to share it with you on YouTube. The gay, lesbian, artistic, I can't remember, but they evaluate all the different platforms, right? Netflix, you name studios, they have a grade. And it's like a DEI. If you have to pass muster according to GLAD, otherwise they're going to extort you for some money, right? Who's behind this? Well, it's probably people like Pritzker, the super money people, the ones who want to see a post-human society, the AI world. Those are the people that are behind this agenda. And Ellen was just a tool. Once her antics off the screen, she was a really mean boss, Ellen DeGeneres, according to her people, not mine. The people that work her, she was an insufferable egoist. And she lost her show because no one was watching it anymore anyway, because the word got out that she was cruel. Britney Spears is not cruel. She is a nice human being. She treats everybody, even if they're 12 years old, with respect because she's a Southern girl. She learned manners. She's from Louisiana. That's how them kids is raised down there. They call all older people sir. And they call all older women, adult women, ma'am. And when you go into a restaurant, the waitresses will say, "What do you have, honey?" I like that part. They will call you honey. And there's no sexism involved. It's just affection. It's love. All right, that's Britney Spears. All right, I'm sounding like a fanboy. I'm sorry. I apologize. Here's Ellen DeGenerate.
The best things about hosting the show is that I get to bring joy and laughter to the world. But the second best thing is that makes me very, very rich. But I wanted to take advantage of the celebrity lifestyle with one of my famous friends. So I called up Britney Spears and I took her to the Westfield Fashion Square Mall. I told her we could do whatever we wanted because we were famous. And here's what happened.
So that is the demon, Ellen DeGeneres. If I was one of the parents there and Ellen DeGeneres touched my child, I would bitch slap her. I would say, "Get your hands off of my child. Get away." So there she goes to the shopping mall with all the mothers in the family, and they're so in awe of celebrity. Gosh, all I can think is, man, I wish I was there. I'd kick her ass. I'd give her a spanking. That Ellen. And if she tries to get back in the United States, I hope there's a news crew there to greet her and Portia de Rossi, and also a fully equipped detachment of ICE. And they can play in the background, "Ice, Ice Baby. Keep the trash out of America." That includes especially celebrity trash like Rosie O'Donnell and Ellen DeGeneres. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, I hate to end on such a nasty, harsh note. So let us conclude. I'll be back with a wrap up after this, but we can't end our little brief discussion about gay celebrity gossip without getting a look at one of my favorites, Paris Hilton. There's three guys that I like. There's Paris Hilton. Sloan is another one, right? And another guy, gosh, can't remember his name. His name is Lauren something. Can't remember his last name. But these are my three favorite gay celebrity people. And at some other time, I'll go through some of the possible reasons why gay lesbian people are the experts at gossip. Right. So let's take it with two of my favorite people, one Paris Hilton and the other one, because you know I have a morbid fascination with true crime, the other person is Nancy Grace. Together. Here we go.
Her life was stable and she was performing, doing what she loves. And I went to go see her show in Las Vegas. And this was after I was in her circus tour opening. And for this one song, she brought me up on stage and put me on a leash and walked me around. And that was a fun moment for me, definitely.
Okay, let me understand what I'm hearing. I'd like to see Perez Hilton, please. Britney Spears put you on a leash and walked you across the stage like a dog, and that's your best memory? Okay. I think I'll leave on that point. Thank you, Mr. Hilton. No further comments. Cross-examination has now ended.
Well, that, ladies and gentlemen, wraps it up for today. I think I'm going to do a complete show. I mean, if you think it's a bad idea, please let me know in the comments. But I kind of want to do a show on gay YouTube celebrities. I think they have something special and a lot to offer the world. I think they pierce through the veil. A lot of them are really good in detecting BS. Right. Some of them take a perverse delight, for example, in exposing certain celebrities, actors, or whoever, who are living their life on the down low and think they're fooling the world without being straight. Does the name Kevin Spacey ring a bell by any chance? Well, these guys are on it very, very early on. So for me, people like Paris Hilton and Sloane, they're my early warning system. So anyway, that's my final analytical tip for you as we wind down today's show. I hope to see you back next Sunday, next week, right? I appreciate your patronage, your support. The people on Patreon are allowing me to buy books like this and work like Walt Disney. And I'll have something special for you next week as well. And I hope to see you then. Until that time, I bid you goodwill, peace. I'll be back with you, God willing. Bye.